Hey there, are you thinking about moving to Broomfield, Colorado and just want to learn a little bit more about it? Maybe the pros and cons of that particular city? Well, that's exactly what this video is for. Let's get started. All right, Christy Lee here, and I am a local real estate agent and native of Colorado. If you're new to my channel, all of my videos are going to be catered to my favorite cities to live in and move to, great places to take your kids to play, great restaurants or breweries that are my favorite. So if that's something that interests you, please click subscribe right there. That way you are notified every time I have a new video. All right, so you're thinking about Broomfield, and Broomfield's an awesome city, which is located just west of I-25, kind of right there in the middle of, Boulder is going to be towards the west, and about Longmont is going to be towards the north. So, you're going to be kind of right smack dab in the middle of that. So it is a great location if you're wanting to be more towards the northern side of Colorado. So today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of Broomfield, because obviously all cities aren't going to be great. There are going to be cons to those cities, but being a native of Colorado and having lived and worked in Broomfield for a majority of my life, I do have a lot of pros about this city, but obviously there's going to be some negatives too. So I'm going to do 5 pros and 5 cons. So the first pro, number 1, is, like I already said, is the proximity to Boulder and Denver. So where you're located in Broomfield, you could get to Boulder in 15 minutes. You could get to Denver in about 25, just a matter of where you're located. So it's really great for people who are either working in Boulder or Denver, going to school in Boulder or Denver. Either way, it's a great location if you're just wanting to get to either side, as well as if you want to get to the mountains. You have really easy access to US 36 and I-25 that'll get you to I-70 to get out to the mountains. So if you're a skier, a snowboarder, a hiker, whatever that might be, you're going to be extremely close to those mountains as well. All right, number 2 on the pros list, and what a lot of people are more concerned about, is home prices. So the average home in Broomfield is going to be mid 500s, and I definitely think this is a pro because it is, less than Boulder for sure, considerably less, but it's also less than Superior and Longmont as well. So you do get kind of the best of all worlds because you're kind of right there in the middle. So you're really close to all of these other cities, yet paying less for a home. And in my opinion, I love Broomfield, so I would much rather live in Broomfield than even paying the extra price for Superior or definitely Boulder and be that close to it. So if I could still get into Boulder in 15 minutes and pay a good $400,000 less on my house, you better believe I'm going to be able to do that. So that is definitely a pro in my opinion. The housing prices are going to be less. You're going to get more house for your money out there. I will say when it comes to Broomfield, you will have, there definitely are new builds out in Broomfield for sure, depending on which location of Broomfield you are in. But a majority of them are going to be more established homes, maybe homes that are built in the 70s and 80s, definitely the 90s. So it's going to be more of a mature city, a much mature neighborhoods, bigger trees. Landscape is going to be just more, unless you're in the new build, of course, but there's not as many new build homes out in the Broomfield area. You're definitely, if you're thinking about it, if you want something that's a more mature house, more mature landscape, Broomfield's going to be the place to be. All right, next up is number 3 on the pros list, and it's just all the open space and parks that Broomfield has to offer. There's 8,000 acres of parks and open space within this area. You have the Broomfield Rec Center and open, like the park area, which is huge. There's trails and like I said, parks, all that stuff that's going to be all throughout this community. So if you're an outdoors person, Broomfield, and in Colorado as a whole, you're not gonna lose out on anything on outdoors wise if you live anywhere in Colorado, but Broomfield is definitely high on the list just because you are so close to Boulder. A lot of these trails you could actually ride right into Boulder, and you could actually ride right into Denver too. So it's really, really great if you like to ride your bike, if you like to, run, walk, whatever it is. And then the parks as well for your kids. There's so many parks. I take my kiddo to the Broomfield Civic Center area. There's a huge park there. There's a bunch of baseball fields, football fields. You could just go and have fun, have a picnic, whatever. And that's something that's really great in the Broomfield area. Okay, number 4, pro, is going to be, there's a lot of employment opportunities in Broomfield. So Broomfield has what's called, inside of it is Interlochen, and Interlochen, the area of Interlochen is kind of its own little sector of Broomfield, but there's a lot of employment within there. So you have Vail Resorts, Staples, Ball, Level 3, Crocs. There's so many employment opportunities within the Broomfield area, and those are just naming 5 off the top of my head. Coming from personal experience, having worked in property management in Broomfield for so long, a lot of people that I helped find a home would move to the Interlochen or Broomfield area because their new jobs were bringing them to that area. So definitely, if you're looking for a new job, seek out those areas in Broomfield. Interlochen is going to be right around like the Flatiron's Mall, right off of US 36. So there's going to be just some major employers going to be located right here in Broomfield. Okay, last but not least is my number 5 pro, my 5th pro of Broomfield is the First Bank Center. So I think this is super cool because the First Bank Center is an event center that we have right here in Broomfield. It's right off of US 36. You can see it right there on the highway, and it hosts a lot of concerts. There's rodeos, Cirque du Soleil is there. There's a lot of fun things that happen within the First Bank Center, and you don't have to drive to Denver to get there. So there's still major names that still play at First Bank. There's just so many things that they have there. Monster Truck Jam, all of that stuff, it takes place at First Bank Center. So if you live in Broomfield or even surrounding Broomfield, you could go to a great show and be home within minutes and not have to worry about all the traffic of Denver, all the parking, all of that stuff, just because it's going to be right there. Quick Uber ride, in and out. Also right there on the First Bank Center, there's a lot of housing. So you have a lot of apartments, and then there's going to be some townhomes and condos that are for sale within that same area too. So that's called the Arista area. And so that whole area is great if you want to live there too, because obviously you have First Bank right there. So you could just walk to the shows and walk home. But there's also the RTD bus stop right there too. We don't have the light rail, but we have the bus stop, and it stops right there at the First Bank Center. So that's also a huge plus of that area as well. Okay, so not all cities are going to be great and have all these wonderful things, and Broomfield's no different than anywhere else. So there obviously are some cons. So my very first con that I definitely think about Broomfield is that it doesn't have that unique downtown area like some of the other cities have. So around Broomfield, you're gonna have Lafayette, Louisville, Arvada. All of those have that, downtown, like little strip of restaurants and bars and boutiques. Broomfield doesn't have it. They don't have anything like that. So if that's something that you really like, going to a brewery and kind of walking around, or having those small festivals that a lot of the towns around here have, Broomfield doesn't have it. I mean, they have Broomfield Days, which kind of takes place in a park and stuff like that, but they don't have like the active farmers markets and things like that on the normal downtown street as a lot of the other cities have. All right, number 2 con is going to be, especially if you have kids in the that you're wanting to put through school, Broomfield doesn't have a specific school district. So you're going to either be in Adams 12 5-star, Jefferson County, or Boulder County. Actually, and I think even Broomfield County as well, has some schools of their own, but depending on where you are within the Broomfield area, as far as where you live, it's going to really distinguish on what school district you're in. So if you are very adamant about only wanting to be in Boulder Valley school districts, we need to make sure we get you into those neighborhoods that only feed to Boulder Valley, and same with Jefferson County and Adams 12. So those are something that you need to pay attention to, that if you just move to Broomfield, you're not just going to automatically be in a specific school district. You do have to pay attention to what specific neighborhood is, because it is a wide range, because Broomfield is so large and it does take up a lot of space, really random space on how the lines are drawn within the Broomfield area, that it's going to be very distinguished on which school district your kids are going to go to. Okay, so number 3 on the cons list is going to be the immense amount of traffic and construction. No, I don't mean like traffic, like there's a lot of traffic jams like all the time, because honestly, when it comes to Broomfield, I mean, the highways that it feeds into, so US 36 and I-25 are going to be the outskirts of Broomfield. I mean, those are going to be the outskirts, okay? So you have to go into, side roads to actually get into the Broomfield area, but they're constantly under construction. So at some point, yes, those are all going to be done, but I feel like Broomfield as a whole, they're always, either fixing roads or reestablishing roads to make them go a different way, putting in new lights, whatever. So, 287 is a prime example of this on US 36 and 287. That is always a mess, especially during rush hour, if you want to call it that, even though it's not a real highway. It's always a mess just because there's always something going on as far as construction, and then it just kind of bottlenecks with a bunch of lights. So, I mean, is it a real pro and not to move to Broomfield? No, but I do want you to be aware of it, that they are always doing construction, but I think that's a Colorado thing too. We're always doing road construction out here. So I just find that it's a lot more pertinent in the Broomfield area. Number 4 con of Broomfield is going to be, I kind of already mentioned it before, is that we do not have a light rail system that heads out to Broomfield yet. Will it come out? Yes, absolutely, because it'll eventually head out to Boulder. So there will be stops at some point. When that's going to happen, I don't know. But if you are a commuter, someone who needs to get downtown or Boulder, and you choose to not drive a car or whatever that might be, just note that if you live in the Broomfield area, you will be riding the RTD buses, and there's plenty of them. There's a Flatirons Flyer that'll take you all the way up to Boulder and Denver. So there's plenty of RTD buses in the systems, and it's great, but we don't have that traditional light rail subway system that a lot of cities have that heads up to Broomfield. We do have it, but it's going to be at some of the other cities. The farthest west right now it goes is Golden. The farthest north right now it goes is to middle of Thornton. So they're still working on getting it to Northwest, but we just don't quite have it just yet. Right, finally, the fifth con of Broomfield is going to be just the rapid growth. So you could take that as a pro or con depending on who you are and how long you've lived in the area. I personally love it. I love the growth of Broomfield. Again, I've been here my entire life, so I actually remember Broomfield when it was nothing, like literally just land, and it felt like it took forever to get anywhere. So seeing all this growth is very inviting to me. I love seeing the new restaurants, the new stores. I love seeing the houses go up and the apartments go up, but that's just me. But if you're somebody who wants something more of a smaller town, less construction, less traffic, and more of that downtown feel, maybe Broomfield's just not going to be for you, because it's growing even more than it was even 10 years ago, obviously. So it's just going to continue to go. So if you don't want something that big of a feel, then I definitely wouldn't recommend Broomfield. I'd probably head more towards Erie, or even Arvada probably is just a little bit smaller. It's not maybe smaller, but it has more of that small town feel. Broomfield just doesn't have that, and it just keeps on growing and growing and growing, but mainly growing with houses and apartments. So anyways, I would say that's probably a con in a lot of people's opinions. For me, I think it's great. All right, that is the pros and cons of Broomfield, Colorado. Please let me know if you'd like any additional information regarding this city or any other city for that matter in Colorado. Again, I am a native and I'd love to help you. I love talking to you. I spend most of my days talking to all of you who are planning on moving to Colorado, and I'd love to help you out specifically as well. Please reach out to me anytime. My contact information is right there below, and don't forget to click that subscribe button. That way you are notified every time I have a new video. And to the next video, take care.